So, if you didn't know, Solinco actually does make tennis rackets. They've been out for a while now and they've had two versions. One is the Whiteout and one is the Blackout. They both came out about the same time. However, Solinco is now coming out with a brand new Whiteout, and that's what I'm going to be reviewing here for you today. And if you don't know who I am, my name is Brody Taylor. I've been working in a tennis retail store for the past 7+ years, as well as I just got my MRT certification, which is essentially a fancy way of saying I got a certification that shows I'm one of 560 people in the world that took a test that helps us to understand and explain what actual string technology is going to do, what actual racket technology is going to do, and how that's going to affect your game when you actually play with a racket. So, Solinco was kind enough to send me the new version of the Whiteout a little bit early so I could get this video made for you. But the big question is there really any difference from this Whiteout being version 1 to the new Whiteout V2? And besides the paint color, which this is an Arctic camo that they were going for. And funnily enough, I saw a little bit of the info sheet that Solinco sent me about this. And the camo skin is inspired by video game skins that you would usually get. I'm assuming in something like Call of Duty, where you can get a just white camo skin on the gun that you're using or anything like that. So I thought that was pretty cool, being a little bit of a gamer myself, but that's me. So with the Whiteout V2, we start to get into the specs of it. And the first thing is that the Whiteout, this is still a 98 head size. So just like the old version 1 of the Whiteout, you are getting a racket that is a little bit more control oriented. It's not going to be the most spin friendly or the most power friendly, just because that's what the 98 head size, the smaller head size, is helping to take away from you, just because you're gaining more help with control or being able to place the ball where you want to a little bit easier. That's where the 98 is going to help you. However, Solinco does help to try and counteract this by having the 16 by 19 string pattern in the racket. So 16 strings going down and 19 strings going across. This is probably the most standard string pattern that you do see nowadays, because it is designed to help give you a little bit more access to spin, a little bit more access to power. And so with the 98 head size, it's a good balance of the two to make sure you're getting a good all-around style feel racket with whatever you're playing with. Now, both of these two things, these have been the exact same from the previous Gen 1 version. So number 2 up here, or number 3 in this case, you have the unstrung weight, which is about 10.8 ounces. And then you have the unstrung weight in grams, which is about 305. As it says in the name. Whoa. And then right under here, the strung weight, you're at about 11.4 ounces, or about 320 to 323 grams. I know those are bad numbers, but bear with me. I gave myself way too small amount of room on the board, but 320 to 323 grams. This is, again, about the same, I will say, weight as the previous Gen 1 version of the Solinco Whiteout. So with that, you are getting a very similar racket in terms of just how the weight's going to play. This is usually what you see more for control-oriented rackets, just because the extra weight does help to give you a little bit more, I'll say, stability out of the frame. If you're playing someone that is hitting the ball a lot harder at you, and you're either not used to it or you're not used to playing up to that level, then a heavier frame will help you just kind of deflect their power back at them and give you a much better chance at actually hitting a decent ball back into the court without the racket going to hit with it. You hit the ball and then it starts doing this in your hand because there's not enough weight in the racket to help stabilize it. Now, that little shaking thing, that can happen for a few different reasons, but sometimes it is just if you're playing someone with a lot of power, you hit the ball, you're just not used to it, the racket's going to shake regardless. So that's where you get this kind of standard weight for control rackets, and it is going to be a little bit on the heavier side for some people. So be sure to demo this to make sure it even works for you before you just go out and buy it. I'll always tell you to demo. Very rarely will I ever say just buy this racket, it'll work fine for you, because that's usually 95% of the time not the case. So we've gone through all of these specs, and you're probably wondering, okay, this seems pretty similar. What's the difference? And that's where this point right down here, this ARC2 construction comes in. So Solinco, what they did is that their big change was with the Arc 2 construction, and what that means is that they changed the layup of the actual carbon fiber that is in the Solinco Whiteout V2. So what that does is that it helps give you a little bit more feel, helps give you a little bit more power, and it is going to help increase the stability of the racket itself overall. Like I said, the weight is going to help with stability, but now that Solinco has just kind of adjusted the makeup of the racket in terms of how it was actually made on the inside, it's also going to help with the stability as well. And that's where you really do start to see kind of what Solinco was going for with the Whiteout V2. Now, down here I have stiffness, and like I said, because of the Arc 2 construction, this is going to be a little bit more feel-oriented. So from my personal opinion, I didn't feel like it was as stiff as the Solinco V1. So I believe, and now I'd have to check this again, and I will, and I'll probably have this in a pinned comment down below once I get the official reading, but I want to say last time I checked, the stiffness was about 65 on this. The previous version, or at least the one that I had, was at 66. So it is fairly similar, but a little bit easier on your arm. So this is where you're going to get a little bit more feel off of the racket, not only from the Arc 2 construction, but also the racket is going to bend a little bit more when the ball actually hits the string. And that is going to help give you that feel. Whereas the previous version, because it was a little bit stiffer, some people felt that it could at times be a little bit harder on the arm. So they opted for just going a little bit lower, not as much power, but some would say, I can't speak to that exactly, but I'd say they're very similar. This one maybe just a little bit less. It's not by a lot, little bit, but the Arc 2 construction is helping to redefine that power because you did go down a little bit in stiffness from what I have seen and what I have felt. Now, I will be putting some footage of me hitting with this racket on the court at the end of this video, so if you are curious to see how it plays and the launch angle of the racket, do be sure to stick around and check out that here at the end. But with the Solinco Whiteout V2, the big thing that Solinco was trying to do here is that they knew that overall, the Whiteout 1 was pretty much a success. People liked it. It was a very good competitor to the Wilson Blade 9860x19, the Babolat Pure Strike, the Yonex Percept, the Head Radical MP, and just those types of rackets. So for their first iteration, they did a pretty good job with it. And a lot of people that actually got to try the racket, they felt that too. But it was still Gen 1. So now with Gen 2, Solinco knew that they had something pretty good, and they are just wanting to improve upon what they had in order to make it more player friendly and just make it a lot more accessible to all types of players, whether you're just been playing for a little bit and you're wanting to upgrade to a more high quality racket, you've played other sports and you're wanting to get into the actual sport of tennis and you're just like, I don't need to start with the basic, I can pretty much work up to this. I'm ready to go. That's where the Whiteout V2 comes in. I personally liked it very much. I didn't have any arm issues or any arm pain from playing with it. So it's something that I think definitely you should try out and demo, especially as it does release today, January 10th of 2025. So that way you can get out there, try it for yourself, and see what you think. I don't think you're going to be disappointed with it. And so with that, the Solinco Whiteout V2, thank you, Solinco, so much for sending this to me. I greatly appreciate it, and I very enjoyed getting to play with it. And B, with that being said, if you liked the video, leave a like on it. Comment down below any questions you have about the V2, or if you've gotten to play with the Solinco Whiteout V2, or just Solinco in general. They make a ton of great string, as well as now they're starting to really focus more and more on their rackets. So I'd love to know what your thoughts are on the company as a whole. And as always, subscribe to the channel so we can grow the channel, get the information out there from the people that have it to the people that need it. There's a lot of tennis misinformation in the tennis community, so I took it upon myself to make this channel so we can get rid of that and just enjoy the game of tennis that we love so much more without having to worry about injury from our gear. And as always, take care.